Over 100 Republicans, including former Republican officials, threatened to split from the GOP. Miles Taylor, the guy who was inside the Trump administration, remember Anonymous published that thing back in 2017, I believe it was, saying, don't worry, there are some of us here working to thwart Trump's fascist agenda. We'll take care of him. And it turned out it was a guy named Miles Taylor. And he also, you know, they turned it into a book. Oh, it was 2018 that he wrote the op-ed. And he said, and the letter says, this is us saying that a group of more than 100 prominent Republicans think that the situation has gotten so dire with the Republican Party that it is now time to seriously consider whether an alternative might be the only option. These are people who were once governors, who were members of Congress, who were ambassadors, who were cabinet secretaries, who were state legislators, who were Republican Party chair people. He has not named the signers. Reuters has reported that Tom Ridge of Pennsylvania, Christine Todd Whitman of New Jersey. We'll see. We'll see how this shakes out. But this is what's going on. And the survival, I think, of the Republican Party, I mean, you know, just for example, this is how bizarre it gets, right? A Trump-loving Republican is trying to push through a bill, I'm not making this up, is trying to push through a bill that fact checkers can be fined $1,000, basically if Republicans don't like what they say. I mean, that's how insane this is. And then we've got this group of military, retired generals and admirals, 124 of them. They just released a letter saying that Joe Biden stole the election. I mean, what's happening is that, you know, billionaire Murdoch family, Fox News, and the other right-wing media that are continuing to promulgate this lie that Donald Trump won the election to justify overturning state laws about how elections are conducted so that in the future Republicans can, you know, install their own toadies and bring in their own election monitors, thugs, goons, to intimidate people. That the media organizations that are promulgating these massive lies have succeeded in convincing 124 retired generals and admirals. And this, you know, runs the, I mean, this is from a group called Flag Officers for America. And they are total Trumpies. And they're selling this lie that the presidential vote was rigged in Biden's favor, and that we are, quote, in deep peril from a full-blown assault on our constitutional rights. Under a Democrat Congress and a current administration, they say our country has taken a hard left turn towards socialism and a Marxist form of tyrannical government, which must be countered now by electing congressional and presidential candidates who will always act to defend our constitutional republic. In other words, Trumpies. So the GOP is like splitting itself right now into pro-Trump and, you know, pro-democracy, I guess, pro-American factions. And it looks like the pro-Trump faction is winning out. Now, I think that you're going to see the pro-Trump faction also, you know, win a whole bunch of primaries next year. As we move into the primary season, it'll be the last couple months of this year and the first 3-4 months of next year, depending on the state and the region and all those kind of things. And as the Trumpies start winning these primaries, it's going to seem like, oh yeah, Trump is really, you know, ascendant, and isn't that wonderful, and Trump, you know, blah-de-blah, from the Republican, you know, from the Trumpy Republican point of view, the fascist Republican point of view. My prediction is, though, that those hyper-Trumpies are going to lose to Democrats, particularly when the Democrats are progressive Democrats, and they can activate the Democratic base, which is broadly progressive. And I think Congress, I think the 2022 election is going to be a wipeout on behalf of the Democrats, and that's going to take some steam out of the GOP sails, or it's going to provoke them to even greater violence. And if you go back and read, Schirer's Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, what you get is that it's absolutely going to provoke them to greater violence. That they are going to do everything they can to tear this country apart, to reestablish an oligarchy, to reestablish racial segregation, to reestablish the Confederacy.